Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now let's welcome your host, founder, and CEO of Women Talk, Bridget Lessard-Diel.
Welcome back to the Women Talk show, where women make their communities stronger one story at a time. Today my guest is Jill Ethier. Jill talks about the loss of her daughter and how it changed everything. Jill believed that she had the life she wanted, but realized that it was not fulfilling anymore, and also discovered that fulfilling your purpose in life, your true purpose in life, is the best self-care you could ever do. Let's listen to Jill's story.
Here's why I believe that fulfilling your purpose on a daily basis is the best self-care practice there is. Let me take you back to when I first understood the importance of and the power in purpose. Just over 12 years ago, I had a great life. I was pregnant with my second child. I was remarried to a wonderful guy. We had just moved into a new home in a new city, and it was so much fun. And everything seemed to be just falling into place. You know that feeling, right? I was taking some time off from my corporate job as a marketing strategist to be with my daughter, who was 6 at the time. It was the first time since she was 8 months old that I had time just dedicated to her. The plan was that I would spend the first year at home with the new baby and my oldest daughter, and then I would go back to my corporate career as a marketing strategist. I loved my job. I had a goal and a vision of what that looked like, and I was very good at what I did. On June 14th, 2006, though, my life took a really different turn. I went in the hospital in labor early that morning to find out that our baby had died. My life changed that day. I didn't want what I thought I wanted anymore. In a blink of an eye, my dreams died along with my daughter. I left the hospital with a box, not a baby, and knowing that I would never be the same. That vision of that corner office that I held through university in those first few years of work, where I worked so hard, no longer felt right. I felt lost. I had committed that fateful day to my baby Cassidy that I would live in her honor, that I would live as fully each day as I could, and that I would make an impact in the world for her and for me. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to fill my days with purpose. I went home and the journey of creating meaning in my life began. I grieved and I moved forward, not on, but forward. I had been taking feng shui classes during my pregnancy, and I began to see a way for me to not only teach feng shui, but also to help people figure out who they are and what they wanted in their life. This was fulfilling work, and I knew that this was what I was meant to do. Fast forward a number of years, and 2 more little girls were born, and I was a busy mom with 3 kids at home and a husband that was gone 3 to 4 weeks during the month. I was working on this new business during nap times and late at night, but my days were filled with the needs of little kids. I felt like I was dying a little bit inside, and I knew it. I kept saying to those around me that I wanted to go back to my corporate job, but I listened to everyone else and not me, and stayed at home raising my girls my focus, and my business was like a hobby. Now, don't get me wrong, when you have children, I believe that you need to put in an immense amount of time, energy, and effort into them in order to raise them into beautiful human beings. But I personally needed a little bit more. I needed to be able to strategize and create even more for my business, for the people that I wanted to impact. I would eventually get my chance to do just that, but a huge catalyst needed to happen first. I became unwell, very unwell. I had burnt myself out and eventually found myself in a functional medicine doctor's office with a diagnosis of stage 3 adrenal fatigue. It couldn't get much worse. His treatment protocol was to take a year off from my life. I wondered how I would do it. I had a preteen and 2 younger girls to take care of. But I did it partly because it was all I could do anyways. I couldn't barely get off the couch, so I might as well have stayed there for the year. And mainly because I knew that if I sacrificed this year, I would heal faster. So I laid on that couch, and all I did was, he put it, was kept my kids alive. I did the laundry, got them groceries, and I cooked, and I drove them to some activities, and that was it for the whole year. I didn't work. I didn't go out. And I basically shut everything down but what it took to keep those kids alive. As I got better, I realized with the doctor's prompting that I couldn't go back to the way I was living before. I had to choose to live each day differently. I had to choose to focus on my purpose and what fulfilled me for more hours each day than I had before. I had to figure out who I was now because I'd lost myself again, what I wanted, and why it was so important to me. I spent hours strategizing and planning how I would do this and what would work. I could no longer see clients in person because it was too hard on my body. So I began to learn how to develop online programs. It was a great solution. I found a way to fulfill my purpose without leaving the house, all the while managing the little energy that I had at that point. As I got stronger, I did more. I added in a podcast, I wrote more programs, I started running online boot camps and having private sessions via Skype with clients, and I wrote a book. All of these things fulfill my purpose on a daily basis and allowed me to be the mother I wanted to be too. This saved me. My purpose saved me. I remember who I was, who I wanted to be, and what I was here to do. I was making a bigger impact and it felt amazing. So if you're feeling lost, if you feel like you've lost yourself and don't recognize who you are anymore, or if you don't even know how you got to where you are in your life right now, like I did, I encourage you to do what I did. I know how you feel. I know it's lonely, and I encourage you to figure out what your purpose is. Your purpose, though, doesn't have to be this big world-changing thing. It needs to be something that you take action on each day in a variety of ways to fulfill it. I started calling this my soul set. So your soul set is your purpose and your plan to pursue it. And I made sure I worked on my soul set every day. And the 3 questions that I asked myself just over 3 years ago will help you to determine your purpose as well. Those questions are, who am I? And this isn't the role you play in your life like mother, employee, sister, or wife, but who you are like a creator, a communicator, a strategist, a writer, an adventurer, or whatever it is for you. What do you truly want? Not what everybody wants for you, but what do you truly want in this life? And what is your reason why? Why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? Your purpose is why you are here and what you're meant to do to create an energetic impact in this world. It's time to live it even more because you will become alive when you do, just like I did. And let me tell you, you won't regret it because your purpose is the best self-care practice that you can ever do.
Do you want more out of Women Talk? Sign up for our Women Talk membership today. Receive discounts at all of our live events, talk on more stages, receive free monthly webinars, or host a webinar yourself. Join this powerful sisterhood we call Women Talk. Visit womentalk.ca/membership.
That is a very powerful story. How did the people react around you, your friends? Did you have a lot of support, or were people just did not know what to do around you?
It's a little bit of both, right? So I'm an analyst at heart and by nature. And so I really kind of took this like bird's eye view of what was happening, watching how people responded. You know, some people rushed in and some people couldn't even look at me. And I just accepted them for what they were at. Grief is really weird. So when you're going through it, typically nobody can say anything right because they don't understand it unless they've been through it. But also it scares people. And it's hard for people to know what to say to you. So I had lots of support from my parents. They ended up, I didn't even really recognize it at the time, but as I looked back, I realized that summer, because it was June, I never spent more than an hour alone. So my husband works away. So when he was ready to go back to work, he went back to work and my parents showed up. And then when he would come home for his week off, my parents would leave and they'd show back up on the day he left. And it wasn't that I really necessarily asked, it was just something we did. So we could all kind of just walk through that really first, kind of like what in the world just happened to me part together. And then for the people that couldn't show up, I just accepted that. Some of them were some of my very best friends and they just couldn't deal with the grief and looking at me. And that's okay. And I think I really learned that in the journey of it, right? And
I think that's a very good point, right? Because some people get very upset by it because they feel their friends are not there for them. But sometimes people just can't handle the pain of watching you.
It is really true. They can't. They don't know what to say. They want to fix it. But the thing about loss is there's no fix. Like there's nothing that makes it better. Time becomes the thing that lets it be less raw. But it's like a scar on your heart that doesn't go away. It just heals up, but the scar remains there, right? And we don't talk about it enough. And so then people really don't know what to do. And so I was just really accepting of whoever and however they showed up. That isn't the case for everybody, right? But I think it's a big thing to realize that this is hard for people, even those around you, to know, right?
So I always feel that anything big and hard or difficult, there's a lesson in there. What was your biggest lesson?
So for me, as I moved forward, I thought that the reason why I went through that was to really, I swore to her on that day I would live fully, and I did my best every day. And I thought it was for me to do it and then show people how to do it, to remind them who they are and what's truly important to them. And that was a big part of it. But then actually just over a year ago, my daughter, the one who was 7 when her sister died, her best friend died. And so she was 18 years old. We are 2.5 months away from grad, 3 months away from grad. She is his grad date. They are like soulmates. And now she is grieving heavily. And I will tell you that the gift and the lesson in me losing my daughter 12 years ago was the fact that I knew exactly how my oldest daughter a year ago was feeling. I knew what to say. I knew how to help her move forward. I knew exactly how painful it was. And so the gift in going through it myself is that I completely understood it. I wouldn't have understood it had I not been through it. And so I was really able to walk her through the experience of her grief over the past year in a way that I definitely couldn't have before.
Wow, that's very touching, because my favorite saying is always life happens for you, not to you.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that.
And that may
Yes.
have very well saved her life, your older daughter.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. It was just, there was an understanding there that I knew how painful it felt. I knew how lonely it was. There's something I call it the void. And the void is it's like you don't even, everything is dark, right? And you don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what you want anymore. The stuff isn't important anymore. All of a sudden, some people aren't as important. There's a lot of things that start happening as soon as you lose somebody or go through a big loss in your life, even a divorce or something like that happens, that then people don't understand unless they've been through it. And so it was so helpful in walking her through this past year. Wow,
that was a great gift.
Mm-hmm.
What was it about feng shui that really intrigued you?
So it was interesting when I had moved cities and moved to Calgary after I got married. I decided I would take some time off so I could be at home with my youngest daughter. And I very quickly realized my type A personality was pretty bored. The house could only get so clean while I waited for her to get home. And so a girlfriend of mine mentioned she had taken a class of feng shui, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because my mom had always talked about energy, and she'd read spiritual books to us when we were growing up. And so I'm like, let me go and learn that. And I just became very intrigued. It was really exciting to go through. I was pregnant at the time, but through the part of the pregnancy where I was so sick, because I was so sick the first few months, and it gave me something to do. And of course, I dove right in. If I was going to attack anything like a business, it was this. I read 20 different books. I studied, I wrote notes. I was the consummate feng shui student. But what I loved about it was the fact that it was a way of taking back control of your life through doing something physical in your home. The fact that the state of your home reflects the state of your life really spoke to me. And so it was a way of setting intentions, because feng shui is 70% of the intentions that you set and 30% of what you move around your space. But it was such a good combo of intention and action for me. And so I just really loved it. I embraced it and I went all in.
So do you think if people are having difficulties in their relationships, in their marriage, can feng shui help them with setting the intentions? And does it really help for that kind of stuff?
I've seen it help with clients through the years. The proof is in the pudding for me. And I see people change their relationships, change the dynamic. And mainly it's because they're changing who they are as they're working in their space. Even if we take a very cluttered space, with a lot of stuff, that will really damage communication. So you start decluttering your home and your communication will open up. You start, working in that area of relationships in your home, and all of a sudden you are like actively changing who you are in that dynamic because of the actions you're taking. And we know when we start making an energetic shift, it's going to change the energy around things. So it'll tend to do one of two things. It'll either help the relationship end because it needs to, or it will help the relationship thrive because that's the road you're going to choose to go down. But it is a powerful way to start doing something different than you've done before to try to heal things, right?
So do you teach feng shui now or use it in your practice?
So I teach feng shui. I actually have an online program for it because when I was really sick, I could no longer teach workshops. So I had to put it all online. So that can be found at my website, jillethier.com. And it's a really easy to implement all the stuff you need via video and PDFs and worksheets. And then we have a private Facebook group to ask all the questions you need. Or I have clients contact me and I will actually create a report for them, do all the work part of it, and we can just do it all online. All I need is a floor plan. So it's a powerful, I call it foundational feng shui because I believe it's like the foundation that everybody needs in their life to launch into their purpose. Like it's a powerful practice and tool in my mind.
Oh, I like that. And all online. That's very cool. I love that. So what does your work life look like now on a daily basis?
So what I do for work on a daily basis is I have my feng shui online program. I also have programs that are all about choosing and creating the life that you want most. So I am currently actually writing another book, and it is all about deciding who you are, your soul set, your purpose, and your plan to pursue it, and how you can take action on it. So I run boot camps online so that people are fulfilling their purpose on a daily basis. It provides accountability for them. I help people strategize their life, so I don't consider myself a coach. I'm more of a strategist. So let's take a look at where you are and what you want, and let's move you towards that. So that is really where I do most of my work. So I have online programs that people can take. I also have boot camps that we do on a monthly basis, which are lots of fun. And we tend to like set a big outcome, and then I help you go after it. I help you strategize it. We figure out why you keep stopping, all of those things, right? And then feng shui is something I encourage all of my clients to take because I do believe it is the foundation from which you launch your life. And it is how your home is the place that nourishes and supports you and manages your personal energy, right? So it's so important that that all aligns as well so that we are creating the lives that we want most. I also wrote a book about my experience of loss and going through losing my baby, going through losing my health, going through walking my daughter through the loss of her best friend. So it's called When the Meaning is Lost, and it's available on Amazon. But it really is, the reason why I did that is because I felt called to, but that's what I want my clients to know. That's what the people who listen to my podcast, I want them to know. Like, it's about fulfilling your purpose and listening to the call and going after it. So I feel like with everything I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I want my clients and the people around me and the people that are seeing my posts do that as well. Because I think that's what we're meant to do and be here, is to go after it.
I know, isn't it amazing when you find your purpose, how it becomes so easy? And when you're doing something that is not your purpose, it doesn't matter how easy it is, it becomes so difficult. Was that what you were kind of going through when you were at home and you were not doing what you were here to be doing?
Yeah, I think what it was I had these young girls, and they required they were really busy young girls. Like would be as close to what boys would be as girls are. And what happened is my days were consumed by them, and I was still doing some of my business, but it was really like a hobby. And what I needed to focus more of those hours during the day on the business so that I'd be a better mother too. Like, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I knew that, but I couldn't seem to here's the lesson. I thought I needed some support from the people around me to transition it. But what I know now looking back is if I knew that to be so true for myself, I should have transitioned it myself. It didn't matter what the people around me thought, or it shouldn't have mattered. I let it matter too much. And that happens to all of us, right? And it's easy to look back and say, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But I will tell you now that if I strongly feel something like I did back then, that I needed to be doing more work on a daily basis and not as much mumming, then I listen to that now, and I really encourage my clients or anybody who listens to my stuff to say, like, if you know for you do it for you. It doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking, because when you know, you know.
Yeah, and I think, if you're happier inside and you feel on purpose, you do become a better mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was scary mommy. I'll admit it. Like,
and let me tell you, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I have done many, many different jobs, created many different companies. Nothing is harder than being a mom.
oh no, like I really honestly was never going to be an at-home mom. Like that was never the plan. And like never. And then when Cassidy died, I decided I couldn't go back to my corporate job. And then it was figuring out, what does this look like? And then of course the next babies came, and obviously I am an at-home mom still, but now like my girls are older. They're 9, 11, and 19. So when they're at school, I work like from 9 to 3. I'm working. And then on the weekends, I do all the housework and the things that need to happen. But those are my office hours. And that's what I needed to do way back then, was just create office hours. Like I still want to be at home so I can go to all the things, so I can have the flexibility, right? But I just didn't set it up the way I needed to, because I didn't listen enough to what I thought I needed. And everybody around me told me that I just was busy enough what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, you got to know yourself and you got to listen. And so I got really sick. And that was a big part of why I got really sick. And so it was, change how you're operating on a daily basis. Or he said, I'll see you back here in 5 years and you'll have a way worse situation than we have now. So it was a huge wake up call, right?
So did you start working when the kids went to school, or did you actually start before they went to school?
Well, I always did some portion of, like, I always worked a little bit. My kids went into Montessori when they were like 3, 4, and 5. So I had some hours every day to work. I just should have shifted it a little bit more and probably put them in Montessori even more initially than I did. And then when they went to school like full time, obviously that 9 to 3 workday became what I focused on, right?
Oh,
I just wish I would have done it a little sooner.
Yeah, I'm the same, right? I remember when my kids, actually, my youngest started kindergarten. He's 9 now, and it was just heaven.
I know there is a good moment, let me tell you, and I love having summers at home with him. So in the summer, I manage what I do. So my podcast still gets created, my emails still go out, I'll still take on private clients, but I definitely scale back, which I love, because that was the whole intention, was being able to spend that time with them. But I will tell you that when September hits and the first week of school hits, there is a very big smile on my face that I know I get to get back to my office and get writing and creating and working with clients again.
I know, it's such a great feeling. I know for me, when I put them in the bus and then I walk in the house and I just take a deep breath, because, being a mom is amazing. It's the best thing in my life, but wow.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. So tell me again, if people would like to find out a little bit more about you, where do they do that?
Well, they can go to my website, jillethier.com. I'm also on Facebook, so you can find me at Jill Ethier there. On Instagram, I do some fun stuff and stories to kind of show you my life on a daily basis. And you can also find my podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, and it's called Ninja Jill Knows, because my clients call me their energetic ninja, which is hilarious. So,
oh my God. So what was the name of your podcast again?
Ninja Jill Knows.
Ninja Jill Knows. I like that. That's very catchy. And what is your podcast about? Is it teaching? Is it conversation? What is it about?
So it's just me. You'll find me talking about some sort of topic that is all about either strengthening your mindset, focusing on your skill set, focusing on your soul set, your purpose, your plan to pursue it, the things that stop you, the things that move you forward, like just anything that gets you creating the life that you truly want, gets you unstuck, gets you moving, gets you inspired and motivated. They're only 8 to 12 minutes long, because that is the length that I like to listen to. So that's the length that I record. Usually there's 2 episodes that come out a week. And they're just really, truly meant to disrupt you a little bit, so that you look at your life a little bit different. So you recognize that what you are going through, everybody else goes through too. And to just keep you going towards fulfilling that purpose, towards doing the work that makes you feel like you and I feel every day when we send our kids off to school. And then I'm fulfilled. And then when I welcome them home, I'm thrilled to get into mom mode and do the things it takes to raise 3 human beings, right?
Well, it looks like you found a perfect balance.
It feels good. It gives me the flexibility I want. It allows me to create like I want. It allows me to, fulfill who I am. And it took a while to get here, right? And it's also continue to grow. And I think that as you continue to want to create a bigger impact, you get uncomfortable because, you're doing things outside your comfort zone. But I believe that's part of the journey. So yes, I feel like right now, how things are created is exactly where I need to be. And I'm just so grateful that this is where it ended up because there was a lot of tumultuous years to get here.
Yeah, and you learned a lot. So that's great. So any mom looking for a good balance or trying to find a better life, they should reach out to you.
That'd be amazing. I would love to connect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Jill, and have a fabulous day.
Thanks so much. You too.
If you have a burning desire to share your story with our audience, apply to be on our podcast. To apply and find a full list of our podcasts, go to www.womentalk.ca.